The day my boyfriend of 3 years proposed to me, the woman he had idealized, his white moonlight, who was thought to have died in a plane crash, returned alive. I followed him rushing down the stairs and watched as they embraced tightly at the foot of the staircase, a scene of profound, tearful reunion. They wept, snot and tears streaming, clinging to each other as if the world outside had ceased to exist. Only after the initial emotional storm subsided did they finally seem to register my presence standing awkwardly behind them. Reese Sterling's face was a mask of utter embarrassment. His white moonlight, Serafina-chan, stared at me, her eyes wide with shock, unable to utter a single word. For a fleeting second I caught a flicker of something else in her gaze, panic. Her reaction wasn't entirely surprising, given how remarkably similar we looked. The dove's egg-sized engagement ring on my finger hadn't even felt warm yet. Though it pained me a little, it was a gorgeous ring. I slipped it off. Taking a deep breath, I walked purposefully towards Reese. Here. Take it back. Give it to its rightful owner. I didn't love Reese Sterling. Our relationship had been a pragmatic, mutually beneficial transaction. We had an agreement. He would give me $50,000 a month in spending money, and I would accompany him to complete the 100 things he and Serafina had planned to do together. Once the list was finished, he would give me an additional $5 million. I desperately wanted to secure residency in Shenzhen to end my nomadic existence of being constantly squeezed by landlords, so we struck a deal with almost immediate synergy. Over those 3 years, he took me to see the snow on Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, ride horses on the grasslands, and wait for the Buddha's light at the summit of Mount Amei. Through these experiences, I felt the weight of all the love he carried for Serafina. So witnessing this live drama unfolding before me was surprisingly moving, far more captivating than binge-watching a Korean drama. With a strange sense of detachment, I gently took Serafina's hand and slipped the engagement ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, not too big, not too small, just right. I guessed Reese was nervous that Serafina might misunderstand my relationship with him. Thinking about the $5 million that was almost in my grasp, I decided to be exceptionally helpful and clarify the situation. Miss Chan, I began, my voice calm and steady. I've often heard Mr. Sterling speak of you. He loves you very deeply. Mr. Sterling and I are just friends. There has never been anything more than that between us. It's truly wonderful that you're back safely. I sincerely wish you both happiness. To avoid causing any further misunderstandings, and to make a swift exit before things got complicated, I hurried back to Reese's luxurious villa to pack my belongings. I planned to leave immediately. My things were all packed into suitcases when the front door of the grand hall suddenly opened. Oh no. The person who walked in was Serafina-chan. A stand-in facing the original, it was natural to feel a pang of guilt. She looked at me, her eyes wide with surprise and glistening with unshed tears. You were living together? Serafina, on the verge of tears, looked utterly fragile and pitiable. Even I couldn't help but feel a flicker of sympathy. I softened my demeanor, offering a rare moment of tenderness as I took her hand. Of course not, I said, offering what I hoped was a convincing smile. His housekeeper was away, so I was just helping out for a few days. I'm leaving right now. Seeing my packed bag seemed to ease her mind, and a sweet smile finally bloomed on her face. My summoned car had arrived, and I quickly rushed to load my luggage, practically ready to buy a standing room only train ticket just to get out of there that night. Serafina, being incredibly considerate, walked out to see me off. Just as I was about to make my grand escape, she suddenly emerged from the master bedroom carrying a stack of photos. They were pictures from the trips Reese and I had taken together. If she hadn't brought them out, I would have completely forgotten about them. Miss Cheen, she asked, her large, innocent eyes appraising me, don't you want these photos? No, I replied curtly. The moment the word left my mouth, she abruptly tossed the entire stack into the trash bin. I froze for a second, not because I cared about the photos themselves, but because seeing my own pictures in a garbage can felt odd. I instinctively glanced into the bin and noticed a single photo of Serafina and Reese mixed in with mine. Feeling a pang of misplaced kindness, I pointed it out to her. After all, Reese treasured that particular photo. Serafina's face paled. She quickly retrieved her photo from the bin, carefully wiping it clean as if it were a precious relic. Perhaps we look too much alike, she explained awkwardly. I didn't notice. I understood. Seeing so many photos of me with Reese must have made her feel uncomfortable. As a fellow woman, I could sympathize. Serafina warmly saw me into the car, then hesitated, seemingly searching for the right words. Finally, she spoke. Miss Chin, would you mind deleting Mr. Sterling's WeChat contact? My heart gave a sudden lurch. Deleting him wasn't the issue. The real problem was if I deleted him, who would pay me? My $5 million was still pending. Mr. Sterling and I still have some financial matters to settle, I replied, using my most official tone. Oh, Mr. Sterling already mentioned that, she said sweetly. Why don't we exchange WeChat contacts? I can transfer the $5 million to you on his behalf. There was such a good thing. My eyes lit up. I immediately pulled out my phone, added Serafina on WeChat, and then, right in front of her, I blocked and deleted Reese Sterling's contact information. Hesitating for even 1 second would have been disrespectful to the concept of cold, hard cash. The first thing I did after moving was buy a British short-hair blue cat. I had wanted a cat for a long time, but Reese wouldn't allow it. It was almost laughable. His reason was that Serafina was allergic to cat dander. Serafina kept her word. As soon as I moved into my new place, I received the bank transfer notification. The huge weight I had been carrying finally lifted. I immediately called my best friend, Chloe Davis, and told her we were going out to celebrate that night. The bar lights flashed, the air thrumming with loud electronic music. I excitedly clapped Chloe's shoulder. Drink up. Chining Shua's ping. For everything tonight. Using original name here briefly before switching fully to English names for flow. Then correct myself to Alara. Chloe looked at me with a touch of melancholy. Alara, is it really over between you two just like that? Before I could answer, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Who is it? You're quite the pragmatist, aren't you? Blocked and deleted me as soon as you got the money. Reese Sterling's cold, mocking voice came from the other end of the line. No, that's not it, I patiently explained. I blocked and deleted you before I got the money. My response left him speechless with anger. He ground out. You think you're so clever? You haven't worked in 3 years. Do you think you can even find a job? Don't come crawling back to me if you starve. Don't worry, I said, my voice light. I'll be very careful with that $5 million. With that, I resolutely hung up and promptly blocked that number as well. That man was utterly bewildering. I bought an RV outright. My funds were running low. I decided to start my own business. As for the capital needed, my gaze fell upon the luxury goods on my shelves. Reese had bought these for me during the time I was his stand-in for Serafina. Using them now felt inappropriate. It was better to sell them and gather what I could. There were too many items to carry easily, so I stuffed them all into a large woven bag and hauled it towards a shopping mall. I remembered there was a second-hand luxury consignment store in this area. Huffing and puffing, I reached the 4th floor just as I saw Serafina and Reese descending in the elevator, hand in hand. My breath hitched. I quickly ducked into a cosmetics store. A sales assistant eyed me with disdain, saying haughtily, Madam, this is a high-end skincare boutique. Please don't bring your garbage in here. I unzipped a corner of the woven bag, letting her peek inside. Then, under her utterly stunned gaze, I strode out confidently, adopting a walk that dared anyone to challenge me. Finally, I reached the luxury resale shop on the 5th floor. Under the watchful eyes of the staff, I pulled out the items one by one, filling the glass counter. I was negotiating prices with the saleslady when a sudden stomach cramp sent me rushing to the restroom. When I returned, I saw a figure, both familiar and strange, standing outside the counter, carefully examining my Cartier necklace. Oh dear! Such a large consignment today. Her voice was sharp and slightly malicious. I immediately recognized it. It was Bianca Stone, my high school classmate. She was a spoiled rich kid, always arrogant, and loved bullying classmates from less privileged backgrounds. We had never gotten along. My face tightened. Of all the rotten luck. It felt like I was cursed to keep running into people I wanted to avoid, and not just one but two in quick succession. Bad luck truly came in pairs. But my things were all here. I couldn't just abandon them. I braced myself and walked towards her. Bianca, of course, quickly recognized me. Her eyes scanned me like a radar. Then she smirked with satisfaction. Well, Alara Vance, are you working here now? In her estimation, there was no other reason I could possibly be in a place like this. No, I replied, giving her an awkward but polite smile. I'm here to sell some things. Sell what? This place only takes luxury items. Who would want your stuff? Her eyes openly showed disdain. Her words were so ridiculous they were almost funny. An old lady crawling into bed, that really cracked me up. I pointed to the Cartier necklace she was holding, unable to suppress a laugh. Why would no one want it? I see you seem to like it quite a bit. Bianca finally realized what I meant. She quickly put the necklace back down as if it were burning her fingers. Is this yours? I was just curious, taking a look. She then reached for another item. With a sinking heart, I informed her that was mine too. Feeling she had lost face, her temper flared. She angrily told the saleslady to check for purchase receipts to avoid buying stolen goods, implying my items were ill-gotten. Everyone in the store looked at me strangely, as if I were indeed a thief. I quickly explained. They were gifts from my boyfriend. I don't have the receipts. I've never heard you mentioning a boyfriend wealthy enough to buy you these things, Bianca said, her voice dripping with insinuation. I wasn't about to be outdone. I retorted without hesitation. I recall you owning quite a few luxury items yourself. I didn't realize you only bought second-hand. Hit where it hurt, she dropped the pretense completely and burst out. What kind of person are you? Even if I buy second-hand, I'm still better than a wild country girl like you. What rich, handsome man would look at you? Are you dating some old guy? I didn't realize I was already considered an old guy before even turning 30. A familiar male voice echoed from the doorway. A jolt went through me. I turned and saw Reese Sterling standing there, impeccably dressed in a sharp suit. Forget the suit. The Patek Philippe 175th anniversary watch on his wrist alone was enough to make jaws drop. That was something you couldn't buy even if you had the money. The eyes of everyone in the store, like expert appraisers, instantly recognized his immense wealth. The contrast in how they treated me versus the fawning welcome they offered him was stark. Bianca, meanwhile, was frozen in place, completely speechless. Well done. This was the most appealing I had ever found Reese Sterling in my life. He was like a bodhisattva of relief and salvation. What are you just standing there for? Let's go home. He politely declined the tea the saleslady offered, reached out, and put an arm around my shoulders. His powerful presence made everyone feel intimidated. Perhaps because I had always interacted with him under the guise of being Serafina. I had never seen this commanding side of him before. Sell? The things. Damn it, I was actually stuttering. We're not selling them. The one thing we're not short on is money. He said this as he tossed the items back into the bag, then taking my hand in one of his and carrying the heavy woven bag in the other, he walked purposefully out of the store. That heavy bag felt like a cloud in his grasp. I followed him meekly. Once we were outside the mall, and I was sure Bianca couldn't see us, I started trying to pull my hand away. I tried several times, but he held on tight. Recognized his Rolls-Royce parked by the roadside and, assuming Serafina was inside, struggled harder to avoid any potential misunderstanding. Mr. Sterling, could you please let go? Reese didn't let go. He held on even tighter. I grew exasperated. We've broken up. What are you doing? Grabbing me like this on the street? Ilara Vance. His steps halted. Then he loudly called out my full name. His face as dark as ink. Taking so many valuable items out and planning to take a taxi? You're too careless. You could easily be targeted. My expression froze. I looked at him in disbelief. In 3 years he had never once called me by my actual name. So he did know my name after all. Felt strange, and even more surprising was that he was showing concern for me outside the context of Serafina. The sun must have risen in the west. While my mind was still reeling, he pulled me into the car. The three of us sat in a row. Reese in the middle, Serafina on one side, and me on the other. We all looked at each other, the atmosphere instantly becoming incredibly awkward. The driver started the engine. The three of us maintained a tacit silence throughout the journey. I stared down at my feet, so embarrassed I felt like I could dig a 3-bedroom apartment out of the floor with my toes. Reese actually brought me back to his villa. He didn't ask where I lived or tell the driver to take me home. I wanted to get my things from the trunk and take a taxi back myself, but he wouldn't let the driver open it for me. What do you mean? Are you trying to take back things you've already given away? I widened my eyes, incredulous. He refused to answer my question, instead looking at me imperiously. I'm hungry. Go make something to eat. Well, well, well. He certainly wasn't being kind just for kindness' sake. Meanwhile, Serafina had already stepped forward, naturally linking her arm through his. They looked every bit the newlywed couple, while I was seemingly the hired help. Are you kidding me? Reese Sterling, we've already settled everything, silver for goods. He was not my employer, much less theirs. Silver for goods? Reese's temper flared instantly. He pushed Serafina's hand away and looked directly at me. The $5 million was the amount we agreed upon for completing the list, and I keep my word. But those gifts were things I bought for Serafina. I have the right to take them back. Of course, I'm not stingy. If you're willing to cook, I can let you keep them. I stood rooted to the spot, fuming. 3 years of my youth wasted on this man, and he was actually holding my precious luxury items hostage to get me to cook. As the ancients said, poverty cannot make you swerve, nor can force bend you. I straightened my neck, determined to fight this capitalist dog to the bitter end. Private chef? $50,000 a month, yes or no? Reese looked at me, his eyes glinting with amusement. Young master, do you have any dietary restrictions? Prefer sweet or spicy? I tied on the apron submissively. Like thunder from a clear sky, the old servant girl had arrived. Rich Mr. Sterling, poor Reese Sterling. Alara Vance, did you invent this ability to change faces? Reese scoffed coldly. I didn't retort. Instead, when preparing the meal, I deliberately added extra chili peppers. Reese and Serafina were both from Beijing and couldn't handle much spice, whereas I was a born and bred Sichuan girl, and my best dishes were Sichuan cuisine. I worked up a sweat in the kitchen, while they cozied up in the tea room, putting on a display of affection. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I watched Serafina tenderly feed Reese a piece of sliced cantaloupe. Oh, the humanity! After spending the entire afternoon busy in the kitchen, I finally presented a magnificent spread of Sichuan dishes on the table. The aroma filled the air. Reese thoughtfully picked up a meatball with his chopsticks and placed it in Serafina's bowl, his cold expression melting into one of spring-like warmth. She doesn't have many strong points, but she makes excellent food. You should try this one. This was the only dish on the table without chili peppers. I quietly rolled my eyes. After that, he put on gloves, enthusiastically declaring he would peel shrimp for Serafina. Ah, the classic love triangle trope scene. I wasn't interested in watching their display of affection. I focused on my own meal, eating with gusto. Suddenly, a small bowl of peeled shrimp appeared in front of me, plump and white. Huh. I looked up in surprise, meeting Reese's somewhat flustered gaze. Serafina's face instantly turned pale. The air froze for 3 seconds. You two look so alike, Reese stammered, forcing a laugh. I got momentarily confused and gave it to the wrong person. He took the bowl of shrimp back and placed it in front of Serafina. Her complexion improved slightly. She elegantly took a few bites, her face quickly turning red from the spice. She frantically reached for water. Reese realized something was wrong. He quickly tasted a dish himself, his eyes widening in disbelief. Alara Vance, how many chili peppers did you put in? However, I had underestimated Reese Sterling's spice tolerance. It seemed 3 years of eating my cooking had built up his resistance. He managed to finish the entire spicy meal alongside me without changing his expression, though poor Serafina suffered. Feeling a little guilty, I put down my chopsticks and was about to go make something else for Serafina in the kitchen, but Reese said there was no rush. Serafina had eaten something at the mall, and he would cook her a plain noodle soup after dinner. Friday. I bought groceries and finished cleaning, feeling a little tired. I fell asleep on the sofa. In my hazy state, I felt a ticklish sensation on my face, as if a hand was gently stroking it. I woke up with a start and saw it was Reese Sterling. Are you crazy? I reached out and shoved him hard. He seemed unbalanced and stumbled, falling onto the floor. He lay there motionless on the cold floor, unable to get up. Did I push him too hard? I felt a pang of fear. I cautiously reached out to help him up, but he grabbed me and pulled me into a hug. Panicked, I struggled. Let go of me. Reese ignored me. He mumbled into my ear. You're so cold and heartless. You actually threw the photos into the trash. There was a strong smell of alcohol on his breath. He must have been drunk and mistaken me for Serafina. Just as I was about to explain, he suddenly cupped my face and kissed me forcefully. At that exact moment, Serafina returned and saw the scene. Her eyes turned red and she burst into tears. The misunderstanding had become colossal. After settling the drunk Reese, I quickly went to clarify things with Serafina. She was incredibly understanding, saying she didn't blame me, only our unfortunate resemblance. However, she made it clear she didn't want me to stay there any longer. "Ilara," she said, holding my hand gently and kindly, "you're a girl too, you can understand, right?" I nodded. "As for Reese, I won't let him make things difficult for you anymore. Honestly, he doesn't want you to leave because you've captured his stomach. Why don't you teach me all the dishes you can make? Of course, I won't let you do it for free. I'll pay you 500,000 for the lessons." I was so touched by her offer, tears welled up in my eyes. How could such a kind person exist? Reese truly was fortunate to have her. With this 500,000, I could start my small business as planned. Overjoyed, I couldn't help but give Serafina a big hug. Back at my place, I diligently wrote out recipes for Serafina, detailing everything clearly. I made sure to go teach her when Reese was busy at the company, giving her hands-on lessons. She learned quickly, and I could see her graduation was approaching. Reese indeed didn't bother me anymore except for one text message. "Without you, the orchids at home died." I didn't reply. Today, I went to teach Serafina cooking as usual. By the time we finished, it was getting dark. As I was walking away, my phone rang. It was a message from Serafina. "Ilara, my period started unexpectedly, and I don't have any pads at home. If you haven't gone too far, could you pick up a pack for me?" "Okay," I replied readily. I went to a supermarket, bought the sanitary pads, and started walking back towards the villa. A black van was parked outside the detached villa. I had lived in this neighborhood for 3 years and had never seen that van before. Curious, I peered inside. A window rolled down, revealing a face with a thick beard. He grinned at me unsettlingly. My heart skipped a beat. I turned and ran, but several thugs seemed to appear out of nowhere, blocking my path. They covered my mouth to stifle my screams and forcibly dragged me into the van. When the black cloth bag was pulled from my head, I found myself in a completely unfamiliar environment. My hands and feet were bound to a chair. I looked around. It was an abandoned, unfinished building. Had no idea where I was. There were 4 kidnappers in total. The leader, the bearded man, stared at me ferociously. "Enjoying being Reese Sterling's girlfriend? Tell us, how much have you milked him for?" His accent was strange, not local. "Brother, I already broke up with him. You've got the wrong person." I wanted to cry. "Reese, you and your jinxing mouth." I had indeed been targeted by bad guys. "You were just about to enter his villa. You say you broke up? Do you think we're fools?" The bearded man held a cold dagger, lightly tapping my face as he warned me menacingly. "Don't play games. Call Reese Sterling and have him ransom you." It was over. I was doomed. Before Serafina returned, I might have had faith that Reese would pay to get me back, but now that his white moonlight was safely by his side, I, the mere stand-in, had no value to him. The hairs on my body stood on end with terror. I forced myself to stay calm and reason with him. "Brother, listen to me. You've got the wrong person. Is it possible that I just happen to look like his girlfriend?" The idea sounded absurd even to me, and I said it with little conviction. But it was the truth, as unbelievable as it seemed. As expected, the kidnappers didn't believe me at all. The bearded man took out a phone, dialed Reese Sterling's number, and held the phone to my ear. The familiar ringtone sounded. My heart pounded frantically. I had to gamble. If all else failed, this was my only chance. Reese's deep, magnetic voice answered quickly. "Hello, who is this?" "Reese, it's Serafina. I'm in trouble." I imitated Serafina's voice, trying to pass myself off as her, hoping to trick him into saving me. But he cut me off before I could finish. "Stop messing around. You've been avoiding me like the plague lately. Why are you suddenly calling me with this stunt? Are you out of money again?" It was completely useless. I had tried my best, but he had seen right through it. Even from miles away, I could sense his smugness, but I was in no mood to bicker. "I really need money," I said, my voice trembling slightly, my palms cold with sweat. The kind that makes a difference between life and death. He finally sensed something was wrong. His voice became serious. "What's wrong? How much do you need?" Before I could answer, the kidnapper snatched the phone. He spoke coldly to Reese. "Listen here. Your girlfriend is with us now. If you want her to live, bring $3 million for her ransom. Don't call the police or we'll kill her." "Brother, can you make it less?" I bit the bullet and tried to negotiate the price down. I was afraid if it was too high, Reese might not bother. Sure, the bearded man said with a chilling smile. 50,000 less, and we'll chop off one of her arms. My body went rigid with fear. Don't hurt her. Reese's anxious, angry shout came from the phone. If you dare lay a hand on her, you won't get a cent. If it's money you're after, there's no need to make things difficult for her. I don't have US dollars right now. Give me 3 days. Fine, you're reasonable, we're reasonable. 3 days it is. You come alone. We'll have eyes on you, so don't try anything clever. The bearded man hung up. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. So I was actually worth that much. Now I could only hope these men would keep their word, take the money, and let both Reese and me go safely. But my hope was quickly shattered. The bearded man held a tablet in front of me. The screen showed the face of an unfamiliar older man, a foreigner with blonde hair and blue eyes. Baby, so happy to see you. The man on the video call grinned at me evilly, sending chills down my spine. Who are you? I don't know you. It's all right if you don't acknowledge our relationship. Don't worry, I respect your choice. Since you love that man so much, I'll send both of you to be reunited in hell. He blew me a kiss before hanging up. Something was terribly wrong. I noticed these kidnappers hadn't bothered to cover their faces. They didn't seem to care if I saw them. Combined with the strange words from the man on the video call, a horrifying realization dawned on me. My body went cold. You never intended to let me live, did you? I voiced the question in my heart, my voice barely a whisper, my heart pounding in my throat. Congratulations, you got it right. The 4 men exchanged glances and grinned maliciously. Do you have any professional ethics? Taking the money and still planning to kill us? I accused them tearfully. In that moment I sincerely wished Reese was a heartless capitalist who was just fooling around, that he wouldn't come. I desperately hoped these scoundrels wouldn't get the money and take both our lives. Don't blame us. Boss wants you dead. My mind raced. Maybe Serafina had some connection to Boss. And they weren't just after money. They wanted Serafina and Reese dead. I was just cannon fodder. I quickly tried to explain. I swear to heaven, I am not Serafina. You got the wrong person. If I'm lying, may I be hit by a car and die the moment I leave here. You didn't say that when you were on the phone with Reese Sterling just now. Do you think we're deaf? They completely disbelieved me. Nothing I said would work. No. I couldn't wait to die. I had to find a way to save myself. Night fell. The other 3 kidnappers went out to get late-night snacks, leaving only one to guard me. A sudden idea struck me. I gave him a fawning smile. Brother, I need to use the restroom. Just go there, the man grumbled, pointing towards a corner. Brother, listen to me. My period started. I need to use that. Please make it convenient for me. I have some extra cash, my own private money. Well, they're not here, I can quietly transfer it all to you. Money makes the world go round. The man's eyes began to gleam. He eyed me suspiciously. You're not trying to trick me, are you? How would I dare? If you don't believe me, check my bag. There's a new pack of sanitary pads in there. I hadn't even had a chance to use it before you guys grabbed me. He checked my bag and indeed pulled out a pack of sanitary pads. He finally seemed to believe me. However, he demanded I transfer the money to him first. He untied my hands, turned on my phone and handed it back, pressing the cold knife against my neck simultaneously. I didn't dare make any sudden moves and honestly transferred the money to him. At the payment confirmation screen, my heart ached. This was the money I was going to use to open a Sichuan restaurant with Chloe. Decades of hard work gone in a moment. He received the money and immediately snatched my phone back, turning it off again. I asked him to untie the rope on my feet, but he refused. I've got the money now. I'm not taking any risks. If you run off, the boss will kill me. How about this? I suggested, desperate. You can tie a rope to my foot, and every few seconds you can tug it to know if I've run off. If you don't let me change, it'll get messy and smelly with blood later. And men who see that are supposed to have really bad luck. People involved in illegal trades were often superstitious. My persuasion worked and he finally agreed. Taking the sanitary pad, I walked into a small room by the window, pretending to need privacy. Cautiously looked out. We were on the 5th floor. The chance of surviving a jump was 0. But there were houses and fields nearby. If only I could signal the residents for help. An idea sparked. I felt in my pants pocket. There was some loose change left from buying groceries earlier. With a painful bite, I pricked my finger and used my blood to write SOS on each coin. Time was running out. He was starting to rush me. While answering him, I grabbed a few pebbles from a corner, wrapped the blood-stained coins around them, and threw them out the window with all my might. I could only hope someone would find the money, see the message, and call the police. The waiting days were agonizing. I couldn't sleep at night. By the deadline, I had dark circles under my eyes and looked haggard, like a different person. Unfortunately, I didn't wait for the police. I waited for Reese Sterling, that unlucky fool. I watched him, holding a heavy briefcase, standing calmly before the kidnappers, and suddenly tears streamed down my face. This poor man, he had no idea we were both going to die here. The towel stuffed in my mouth made it hard to speak. I wanted to shout at him to run, but only muffled sounds came out. I could only watch helplessly as he handed the money over. But those treacherous bastards didn't release me. They captured him as well, tying us both together. 2 of the kidnappers had been injured when Reese resisted capture, so they retaliated by punching him twice. Blood seeped from his mouth, but he didn't flinch. He rationally negotiated with them. Is the money not enough? You can only get more if we're both alive. In that moment, I had to admire this man. This was the first time in 3 years he had truly impressed me. We don't want money, we want your lives, the bearded man said, a malicious grin on his face. Reese's expression hardened. He thought for a moment and then asked, I want to know why. The bearded man showed Reese the video call recording. Reese looked at me, his eyes filled with surprise. I explained frantically, I've been with you for 3 years. Where would I find time to meet some foreign old baby like that? Reese was silent for a moment, lost in thought. The bearded man's phone rang again. He held it to my ear. It was the foreign old baby again. You betrayed me and chose this man. Well, take a good look at whether this man is worth it. You'll know soon enough. He then laughed ominously, sending a shiver down my spine. What do you want? I told you, you got the wrong person. I was so anxious I started speaking in my Sichuan dialect. I remember you Chinese have a drama called Sand Sculpture Couple? That's Condor Heroes, I said, half crying, half laughing, but the other end had already hung up. The night deepened, but the 4 kidnappers showed no intention of resting. I didn't know what they were waiting for, and my anxiety grew more intense. Suddenly, the bearded man stood up, motioning to the others. They grabbed Reese and me. It's time to send you on your way. A shiver went through me. I looked at Reese in terror. He looked composed, his eyes gazing at me with a simple tenderness. Alara darling, don't be afraid. I'm with you. My nose stung, my eyes reddening. Reese Sterling, I'm sorry. If it wasn't for saving me, he wouldn't be in this situation. It's okay. It's not your fault. In that moment, I felt as if a halo of light surrounded this man. Stop the melodrama. Let's go, the kidnapper said impatiently, pushing us. They turned on their phone flashlights and led us towards a nearby reservoir. Looking at the black deep water, I was terrified. I couldn't swim at all. I guess they planned to drown us. Just as I thought they were about to push us in, they instead forced us to sit on the ground, tied to a large log. 2 men guarded us and the other 2 went off somewhere. What the hell? I almost wished they'd just get it over with quickly. Alara darling, let's chat, Reese said suddenly. Oh, all right. I sighed helplessly. I never thought we'd be chatting like this at the end. I remembered he used to dislike it when I talked too much, maybe because my Sichuan accent made me sound less like Serafina. Reese looked out at the distance, his voice wistful. Serafina and I met at a piano recital. It was love at first sight. He was about to tell me his love story. I settled in, willing to listen. It might help distract me. And then, we had only been together for a month when something happened with my family. My father fell gravely ill, and the other shareholders at the company were circling like sharks. I was incredibly busy during that time, but I didn't want her to worry, so I didn't tell her anything. She just thought I had changed, that I was neglecting her. We argued constantly. Finally, after 2 months, she broke up with me, saying she was going to Myanmar with her family. I had tried to coax her back many times, but I was exhausted. So the last time I didn't try anymore. I just watched as she got on that plane. My heart ached a little. So that was it. Her plane crash, he must have felt incredibly guilty. You know what happened after that? It's always been a hurdle in my heart that I couldn't get over. I always thought if I had just held on to her, none of this would have happened. Slowly, she became an obsession. Then I met you and I felt it was fate, that you were sent to my side to give me a chance to make amends. I interrupted him. But I'm not her after all. And now she's back. Reese looked at me intently, hesitated for a moment, then finally spoke. Anyway, we're going to die now. I don't care about all that anymore. Why don't we just be together? I froze, surprised by his words. I thought for a moment, then a realization struck me. You're not thinking. Since Serafina isn't underground with us, you'll just settle for me as a couple down there, are you? Back when we were above ground, he thought. Serafina was below, so he used me as a stand-in. Now that we were going below and Serafina was above, he wanted to be with me? Wasn't the situation exactly the same as before? If we're together, will you be as rich underground as you are up there? If the conditions are the same, I might consider it. Why was I so unlucky? I finally got an RV and didn't even get to live in it for a few days, and now I was going to be poor again in another place. Alara Vance, why are you still thinking about money at a time like this? You're so materialistic. Reese scoffed at me. Who doesn't like money? How is that materialistic? You don't care because you have too much of it. You're amazing, you're detached. While we were bickering, the other two kidnappers suddenly returned, carrying a large log. Without a word, they tied Reese and me to opposite sides of the log. What are you doing? I struggled frantically, but it was useless. The bearded man lightly patted my face. This log can float in water. The man's strength is greater than the woman's. He can choose to keep you afloat, giving you a chance to live, or he can choose to save himself by drowning you with his own hands. The boss says since you chose this man, you must bear the consequences of your choice. Wait, why did this plot feel familiar? I thought hard. Wasn't this exactly the scene where Li Macho tormented Xiao Longnu and Yanghua? Splash. Water sprayed everywhere as Reese, the log, and I were pushed into the reservoir. The icy water instantly swallowed me, pouring into every opening. I couldn't breathe. In my terror and pain, I felt a force pulling me upward. Suddenly, I was floating on the surface. Reese had twisted his body, letting himself sink beneath the water. I gasped for fresh air, taking deep, ragged breaths. This kid has some loyalty, the bearded man said dismissively. But let's see how long you two can last. Remembering Reese was still underwater, I immediately tried to push the log, urging him to come up for air. The bearded man and his subordinates took the money and ran, leaving Reese and me struggling for survival in the dark night. We took turns being on top, breathing, constantly yelling for help. Our throats were raw, but we heard no response. Gradually, I could feel Reese struggling more and more to flip the log. He was losing strength. Alara darling, this method is cruel, but maybe it's for the best. At least one of us can live. This time, when he was on top, he didn't yell for help. Instead, he spoke to me earnestly. I was underwater, bubbling, unable to speak. Alara darling, I really don't have any strength left. His voice was hoarse, edged with tears. Although I couldn't see him, I knew he was crying. I didn't blame him. He was in this predicament because he came to save me. He had done more than enough. The longer I was suffocated, the more unbearable it became. Couldn't hold my breath anymore. My body's instinct took over and I opened my mouth. A large amount of water rushed into my body. In that moment, I truly felt the presence of death. I never would have expected that at the most critical moment, the log behind me suddenly moved, slowly turning. Reese had used his last ounce of strength to send me back to the surface. I coughed up dirty water, gasping for air, tears streaming down my face. He had given me the chance to live in the end. Reese Sterling. I cried out his name, weeping. You have to hold on. Maybe someone will come to save us soon. I yelled for help over and over, even if it was useless. It was the only thing I could do, my voice hoarse and strained. A glimmer of light pierced the darkness. I trembled with excitement, my cries for help growing louder. They're here. It was Chloe's voice. She had found us, accompanied by police officers carrying firearms. They quickly pulled Reese and me out of the water. After untying the ropes, Reese was motionless, trembling. I reached for his nose, but I felt no breath. My heart plummeted. I immediately began CPR and artificial respiration. Reese Sterling, please don't die. If you do, I'll feel guilty forever. A large amount of water gushed from his mouth. He finally began to breathe, faintly. We were rescued thanks to Chloe calling the police. She had been worried after Serafina called me and went to my place, so she contacted Reese. She knew I had been planning to give her $500,000 to rent a storefront, but when I became unreachable, she got suspicious and reported me missing. During the investigation, the police discovered I had transferred $500,000 to a stranger, which helped them track the criminal group. Finding us so quickly was due to the SOS message I had thrown out, which caught the attention of nearby residents. They reported it to the police, and the cases were combined, leading to our timely discovery. Unfortunately, the 4 kidnappers had escaped and were currently being pursued. Reese was taken to the hospital. The next day, I bought some fruit to visit him. He was still unconscious. I sat by his bedside, feeling worried, and whispered, "Wake up quickly. As long as you're not awake, I can't eat well or sleep well." I hadn't been able to eat or sleep for the 3 days I was held captive, and now worried about him, I was in the same state. "Really?" Reese suddenly opened his eyes. "You're awake." I was startled and instinctively reached out to hit him. My hand happened to land on his chest, making him yelp in pain. I suddenly remembered he had been severely beaten by the kidnappers and was injured. I quickly asked, concerned, "Reese Sterling, how are you?" "I'm sorry. I'm fine. I'm doing great." He smiled, his eyes curving like crescent moons. "So, my little money grubber can be caring too. You were injured because of me, of course I'm going to care about you," I said, feeling inexplicably flustered. He looked at me meaningfully. "Someone must have given me artificial respiration when we were rescued, right? Was it you?" My face instantly burned. I quickly retorted, "No, it wasn't me. It was the police." "If it wasn't you, why are you blushing?" Damn it, I hated the fact that I blushed so easily. It gave everything away. I sat rigidly, mortified. Reese's hand, still connected to the 4 drip, slowly reached out towards me. His cool hand stroked my burning cheek. The atmosphere became strange. My heart fluttered like a trapped bird. I wanted to push him away but was afraid of dislodging the needle in his hand. Just then Serafina walked in. "Alara darling, you're here." I flinched and Reese's hand immediately pulled back. "Yes." I lowered my head, afraid to meet her gaze, feeling like a child who had been caught doing something wrong. She seemed to notice my awkwardness. She gently took my hand, asking about my well-being, and the atmosphere finally eased. It was soon dinner time. Serafina warmly invited me to eat with her. I agreed as I had some questions I wanted to ask her. At the Western restaurant, we sat by the window. She idly arranged the vibrant red roses in the crystal vase, looking pensive. I finally couldn't hold back and asked her, "What exactly happened during those years you disappeared?" "The people seeking revenge were actually after you, not me." Her hand stopped. "What did they tell you?" "They thought I was you, so they didn't say much, but there was a foreign man. From his tone, it seemed your relationship was." I trailed off, silently looking at her, waiting for an answer. After all, I had nearly died because of this. Serafina clenched the rose stem, tears suddenly streaming down her face. "Alara darling, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I've implicated you and Reese." She wept so pitifully, I quickly offered her a tissue. Wiping her eyes, Serafina choked out. "When the plane crashed, it fell in northern Myanmar. I didn't die, but I was severely injured. I was rescued by a foreign man. He was the leader of a drug trafficking group. No one knew his real name, they called him Satan. He forced me to be with him and wouldn't let me return to the country. It took me 3 years to earn his trust and find an opportunity to escape back to Reese. That's why he sent people after us, wanting revenge." "Does Mr. Sterling know about these things?" I didn't dare tell him. I was afraid he would look down on me. "Alara darling, I endured so much humiliation and suffering to get back to him. You can't imagine. I'm really so afraid of losing him." She buried her face in her hands, sobbing, her entire body shaking. She looked so fragile and pitiful. I stood up and went to her side, comforting her. "It's okay. It's all in the past now. Those people will face justice soon." After this incident, I began to realize the subtle shift in my relationship with Reese. I felt I shouldn't stay in Shenzhen and disturb them. I rented out my apartment and moved to Guangzhou, hoping to gradually create distance from Reese. When Reese called me, I didn't answer. He called continuously for a month, but I still didn't pick up. Eventually, he stopped calling. We lost contact completely. I often stared at my silent phone, my heart filled with mixed emotions. The $500,000 originally intended for starting my business was gone. I had to find a job. Chloe had a friend in Guangzhou who introduced me to a debt collection company. On my first day, I took it seriously. I washed my hair, put on meticulous makeup, and wore a professional suit I hadn't worn in a long time. Things went more smoothly than I expected. The boss was kind, my colleagues were friendly. There was no office politics, and everyone was supportive. According to the rules, the boss assigned me $5 million in debt to collect. Unlike others who were assigned multiple small debts, totaling $5 million, I had just one single account. I felt a little nervous. My mentor Lisa reassured me. Actually, this is better. You only have to make one call a day. You only worry about one case. It's not like us who have to make many calls, solving one only to have another. You just need to resolve this one and your task is done. You get a 6% commission. 6%. My eyes lit up. My mind quickly calculated. That would be $30,000? More than that. Plus a bonus for completing the task. Another $50,000. $35,000. I had my capital for the Sichuan restaurant again. I felt a surge of energy like I'd had a shot of adrenaline. I quickly said, "Thank you, Lisa, for the guidance. I'll get to work." Sitting back at my desk, I eagerly dialed the number. "Hello, is this Mr. Oliver? I'm calling on behalf of XXX Banksway Tuafeng, entrusted party/agent. I'm calling to inquire about a loan account that is currently overdue. Could you please tell me the reason for the delay in repayment? To be honest, I just received a sum of money and was planning to pay it back." I was overjoyed, wanting to jump up and dance, but I kept my expression calm. "That's wonderful then. We won't need to bother you any further." Things were going astonishingly smoothly. However, from what I understand, debt collectors get a high commission. If I pay this back so easily, you'd be making money too easily, wouldn't you? My breath hitched. Of course, nothing good in this world came without a catch. "But Mr. Oliver, if you don't repay, it will cause you many inconveniences, and you'll have to pay high interest later." I tried to persuade him, appealing to his reason and potential difficulties, hoping this genius wouldn't do something self-defeating just to spite me. But after half an hour, I realized I was talking to a brick wall. This guy wasn't interested in solving the problem or hanging up. He was just making small talk, stopping just short of discussing poetry and philosophy. Well. He wanted to test my patience, did he? I put on my headphones, determined. I didn't even hang up during lunch. The call lasted until quitting time. I asked my colleagues for advice, but they all said they had never encountered such a peculiar client in all their years in the industry. There was nothing else to do. The next day, I called him again, trying to persuade him with heartfelt words. He still wouldn't hang up, insisting on awkward conversation. After 3 consecutive days of this, I couldn't hold back any longer. "Brother, you're very idle," I said, grinding my teeth in frustration. "Oh, are you about to finish work again?" His voice on the other end sounded deliberately surprised and utterly irritating. I took a deep breath, telling myself to stay calm. "How long do you plan to keep this up? Are you going to repay the money or not?" "I will," he said honestly. "Then pay it back already." My patience was wearing thin. "I can pay, but I have a condition." I never expected it. He actually asked me to talk to him on the phone for a month, just chat with him. How lonely could a person possibly be? For the sake of my performance metrics, for the sake of my Sichuan restaurant dream, I reluctantly agreed. For the next month, I called him the moment I started work. I wore headphones even when I ate or used the restroom. My colleagues started mistakenly assuming I was deeply in love. Finally, after a grueling month, I was surprised to find this guy actually kept his word. Before I even prompted him, he voluntarily repaid the loan. In the afternoon meeting, the boss specifically praised me, immediately handing over a $50,000 bonus. Surrounded by my colleagues' applause, I grinned from ear to ear. As soon as the meeting ended, the phone rang. Faces beaming, isn't it? My heart jumped. The smile on my face froze. "Do you have surveillance on me?" He didn't answer. He just said he wanted to treat me to dinner that night. I politely declined, but he insisted, saying it was a celebration. Celebrating what? I saw the news today that a criminal group who smuggled into the country from Southeast Asia were caught. Let's celebrate justice prevailing. Southeast Asia? My heart tightened suddenly. I quickly pulled out my phone to check. Although the faces were blurred, I recognized them. especially the bearded man who was particularly distinctive. Yes, we should definitely celebrate. Time, place, restaurant you pick. Don't worry, I'm a good person. The voice on the other end sounded serious, but I could hear the effort to suppress laughter. All right. In the evening, the city lights flickered on, building upon each other. I arrived at the restaurant as agreed. Standing at the entrance, I immediately spotted the peculiar man. He had his back to me, wearing a black striped shirt, his coat draped over the back of his chair. Although I couldn't see his face, I could tell he was handsome. I walked towards him slowly. The closer I got, the more familiar he seemed. Hello, are you Mr. Oliver? Before I could finish speaking, he turned around. My jaw dropped. It took me a long moment to stammer out. Reese Sterling. He stood up, grinning as he looked down at me. You wouldn't answer my calls for a month, but then you actively called me for a month. I wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. I felt like jumping up and hitting him a few times. Is this something a carbon-based life form would do? I couldn't help it. You were so cold-hearted. We're friends who faced life and death together. Yet you wouldn't even take my calls. Cruel. He teased me, pulling out a chair and gentlemanly inviting me to sit. Since I was already there, I couldn't refuse. I sat down frankly and asked, how did you convince Chloe to help you? Your best friend is very reasonable. As soon as I asked about you, she told me everything. I was speechless. This guy was like sticky candy now. There was no shaking him off. Halfway through dinner, Serafina called. It turned out she had also come to Guangzhou and had just arrived at the station, asking Reese to pick her up. Reese looked at me, caught between two choices. She just got here. She doesn't know anyone. You should go pick her up, I said. Hearing me say that, Reese stood up, grabbed his coat and headed out. Wait for me, I'll be back soon. After he left, I ate the lavish meal alone. A strange sense of loneliness washing over me. I didn't wait for Reese. I went home by myself. I curled up on the sofa, holding my little cat. My phone buzzed. It was a voice call from Chloe. So, sister? Did you spend time with Mr. Sterling tonight? I could practically see the mischievous grin on her face through the screen. I said very seriously, we've broken up. He has a girlfriend now. We shouldn't be in contact anymore. And please stop conspiring with him to tease me in the future. Alara, Reese Sterling told me he only dated Serafina for 3 months, but you two were together for 3 years. But they were together first. I knew Chloe meant well. Reese was a good man, but it felt like we had met too late. But they broke up. They broke up and then she was in the plane crash and then you were together. You weren't the third party. As she was speaking, my phone rang. It was Serafina. I didn't want to answer, but she was persistent. The phone kept ringing. I had to hang up with Chloe and take her call. She actually said she wanted to come over and visit. I was about to say it was too late, but her enthusiasm was infectious and I agreed. Half an hour later, Serafina arrived, carrying large bags of things. Just come over, why bring so many things? I hurried to the kitchen to make her tea. Alara darling, no rush. I bought wine. Let's have a couple of drinks. Reese too, letting you come out alone so late. Seeing she brought red wine, I went to the cupboard and took out 2 wine glasses. As I came out, I saw her holding my cat, gently stroking it. My expression froze. I stared at the scene in disbelief. Wasn't Serafina allergic to cat dander? Reese wouldn't forget something that serious unless she wasn't the real Serafina. The terrifying thought leaped into my mind, and my blood ran cold. The fact that I looked exactly like Serafina was already a miracle. Could there possibly be a third woman in the world who looked exactly like Serafina? It was preposterous. Even novels wouldn't dare write something like this. Of course, there was another possibility. She had undergone plastic surgery to look like this. Alara darling, what are you standing there for? She seemed to have noticed my abnormality. Nothing. I forced a smile and walked over. Under the bright living room lights, I examined her face closely for the first time at such close range, searching for any clues. She wasn't wearing makeup today. Her skin was still flawless, but I quickly noticed a detail. When she lowered her eyelashes to play with the cat, there were faint marks in the folds of her eyelids. Only a woman would notice something like that. She had indeed had plastic surgery. A woman deliberately impersonating another woman. What was her motive? Perhaps she was in league with those kidnappers. What had happened to the real Serafina? The more I thought about it, the more terrifying it became. She took out a bottle of red wine that had already been opened, pulled out the cork and poured me a glass. I bought this wine in France. I had one glass and thought it was delicious. I absolutely had to share it with you. Her smile was still outwardly harmless, but it sent shivers down my spine. I'm allergic to alcohol. You drink, I'll have tea instead. I picked up my phone and stood up, moving towards the kitchen. I absolutely could not drink this wine. Who knew what was in it? She suddenly grabbed my hand, snatching my phone. Her strength was astonishing, completely different from her usual delicate demeanor. Reese Sterling clearly said, "You have a good tolerance for alcohol." My expression changed abruptly, and her facade of kindness dropped, replaced by a fierce look. I reached for my phone and we struggled. In the scuffle, she slammed my phone to the ground and stomped on it repeatedly. I looked at the bent and shattered phone, knowing there was no point in trying to get it back. I violently broke free from her grip and ran towards the door. Just as I unlocked the door, she lunged, grabbing my long hair and dragging me backward. "Are you crazy? What are you trying to do?" My scalp hurt terribly. I had to reach up and grab her hand, pulling back. Suddenly she pulled a fruit knife from her coat pocket and plunged it into my abdomen. 3 consecutive thrusts. Blood surged out, staining the floor. I had no strength left to resist. Clasping the bleeding wound, I sank down little by little against the wall, trembling with pain. She leaned over me, a look of triumph on her face. "Go to hell, you. Die with my shameful past. Who are you? Why are you doing this?" I endured the pain, speaking with difficulty. "They've been caught. They'll soon reveal some things about me in northern Myanmar. But they don't know they kidnapped the wrong person, so they'll definitely point to you as me. And I have no intention of giving you a chance to explain yourself." She curled her lips into a sinister, poisonous smile. "As for your death, I'll frame it as revenge from the gang. Do you think you can fool everyone? Reese Sterling will suspect you." I used my last bit of strength to try and convince her to turn back. A stand-in dying isn't a big deal. If I died, he would truly and completely lose Serafina. And let me tell you, I wasn't actually having my period that day. I just saw them casing the place, so I made an excuse to get you to come back as a scapegoat. With that, she turned away and calmly began wiping down any trace of her presence in the room. Meanwhile, my blood continued to flow, my mind growing hazy. I was freezing all over, yet large drops of sweat still rolled down my face. Was this really how my life was going to end? Suddenly, with a loud crash, the living room door was kicked open. I looked towards the person. In my dazed state, I saw a tall figure with a slender waist and long legs. It looked like Reese Sterling, or perhaps it was a hallucination appearing as I was about to die. "Alara darling, wake up. Alara darling, you're so stubborn, you never give up. I managed to hold on last time, you're not allowed to lose to me. Alara darling, if you wake up, I'll give you all my money, okay?" In the haze, I constantly heard a man's hoarse voice calling out to me. After who knows how long, I groggily opened my eyes. I found myself lying in a hospital bed. Reese Sterling was sitting on the edge of the bed, holding my hand, his eyes red and swollen. It hadn't been a hallucination. Reese Sterling had really come. Chloe, worried when Serafina called me and went to my place, had contacted Reese. Fortunately, he arrived in time and rushed me to the hospital for emergency treatment. The fake Serafina was, of course, taken away by the police. "Are you very sad now that Serafina is gone?" I asked him, my voice weak. He shook his head, tears in his eyes. "I only ever felt regret and guilt towards Serafina. Alara darling, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't know how I would live my life now. These 3 years you've quietly occupied every part of me, penetrating everywhere. I just beg you, please don't leave me again." As he finished speaking, tears streamed down his face. He gently rubbed his face against the back of my hand, looking as heartbroken as a child. "I wish I could, but you're 6'1". I can't exactly carry you away." His eyes still held tears, but my words made him laugh. The fake Serafina's real name was Veronica Shaw. She was the mistress of a major drug lord named Satan in northern Myanmar. The day of the plane crash, she witnessed where the plane went down. She initially went hoping to loot from the dead, but unintentionally rescued the barely alive Serafina Chun. However, Veronica had no good intentions. She forced Serafina into prostitution in northern Myanmar to make money for them. Serafina refused and told them she had a very rich boyfriend. Veronica didn't believe her and continued to force her. Unable to bear the humiliation, Serafina jumped into a river and died by suicide. Soon after, Satan saw Reese Sterling's missing person announcement and realized Serafina had been telling the truth. He became enraged and agitated, feeling Veronica had caused him to miss out on a chance to make a fortune. He beat her severely. Veronica, quick-witted in her desperation, said she could make up for his loss and help him trick Reese Sterling out of all his assets. This led to the events that followed. She had plastic surgery to look like Serafina, spent 3 years studying Serafina's interests and hobbies, and meticulously planned her return to Reese Sterling's side. However, once she was with the gentle, handsome, and wealthy Reese Sterling, experiencing his kindness and grace, she no longer wanted to return to Satan. She truly wanted to become Serafina. Now, Satan had lost both his potential prophet and his mistress, so he sent a few men to smuggle into the country for revenge. News came from the detention center that Veronica Shaw was demanding to see Reese Sterling. Reese initially didn't plan to go, but because I wanted to, and he was worried about me, he went with me to the detention center. Separated by thick glass, Veronica's joy was palpable when she saw Reese. But her smile froze the moment she saw me. Reese picked up the phone in one hand, tightly holding mine in the other. His voice was cold and disgusted when he spoke to her. "There's nothing to say between us. Don't disturb mine and Alara darling's life anymore." She pressed her face against the glass and started crying. "Reese, I love you. I truly love you." Reese cut her off sharply, his voice icy. "Don't say that. I find it disgusting. Thankfully, Serafina's spirit was watching over us and didn't let you take Alara darling too. I only wish you'd go to hell quickly and apologize to Serafina." After Reese finished speaking, Veronica suddenly burst into laughter. Then she stared at me with a sinister expression. "Alara Vance, do you see? The only reason he's with you is because the real Serafina is gone. I didn't lose and you didn't win." Nonsense. Reese, usually so careful with his words, swore for the first time. "But there is one thing I have to thank you for. Your appearance as Serafina made me see my own heart clearly." His grip on my hand tightened. He told me that facing life and death together had been a brutal awakening. All his life, people chase and obsess over what they have lost, often blinded to the true happiness right beside them. Only after losing something once do you know its value, but not every loss can be recovered. He said Reese Sterling wanted to hold Alara Vance's hand tightly and never let go again.